Today's episode is presented by Lucky Tree and Northern Home. Today on PodPaca, we are talking to a University of Wisconsin Stevens Point student who just completed a big project about the effect of education on income inequality in Wisconsin. He presented this in Madison at the state capitol building in front of lots of lawmakers. Please welcome to PodPaca a Waupaca native, Kyle Pulvermacher.
Hey, Kyle, congratulations, man.
Thanks so much. Really happy to be here today.
I really want to know more about your project. How did this come about, and how pumped were you to be in Madison?
Well, I guess first of all, I haven't been to the state capitol probably since 8th grade. We went there for a band trip back then. So, and just the opportunity to talk to so many legislators, professors, other students. I've never had an opportunity like this before, so it was really amazing. But yeah, just to go back to, I guess, the project, I guess I could talk about a little bit about what I do at Stevens Point. I'm a math major with an actuarial emphasis and an economics minor. And just this past fall, I started working as a research assistant at the Center for Business and Economic Insight at UWSP with one of the economics professors. And I guess through that process, I also took an econometrics class this fall, which is kind of using data and statistics to verify or discover what relationships there are in the economy between different variables. And so in that class, we had to do this, I guess, final project. We could pick any topic we wanted. It could be related to Wisconsin. It could be related to country level data. It could be anything we wanted. I mean, somebody in our class was looking at are deer hunters in Wisconsin more educated or less educated or something. I mean, we could literally do anything. And I really wanted to do something that was, I guess, relevant to the state of Wisconsin and sort of a hot topic, in recent years. How does education impact income inequality? And basically, after doing the project, the professor that I work with at the Center for Business and Economic Insight told me, hey, there's something called OSCAR at Stevens Point, the Office of Student Creativity and Activity Research, or whatever it is. But they reached out and they're like, we're taking projects, students to attend the state capitol on March 8th. And my professor said, hey, why don't you submit your project? You worked really hard on it. And he helped me actually find a lot of data sources. And it was a lot of work. I've never done something like that before. And just try to present like the main findings that would be relevant to lawmakers and people at the Capitol on March 8th.
So why did you choose the effect of education on income inequality compared to other current issues? Is this something you've always had your eye on? Why is this so important to you compared to other topics?
I guess really the motivation for the project was, if you take a look at inequality in the United States, and there are a lot of different measures of it, income inequality, there are different indexes for measuring it, but basically the United States is becoming more unequal. And this is actually a trend that's not only in the US, but across the entire world, that inequality is getting worse. And the professor I worked with, his name is Dr. Wallace. He actually sort of did an analysis of this about 10 years ago. He wrote like a 20-page paper about, some of the factors that influence it in the United States. And he's really kind of the person who kind of nudged me in the direction to kind of look at that, just to see, because, in terms of policies going forward to try to reduce inequality, you kind of have to know what's causing it before you can, take any action on it. So that's really kind of why I wanted to focus on, to see if education is impacting that in our state. And I guess one more thing I would say too, like, there is research that's been done in the United States about the topic, but I really couldn't find anything about Wisconsin specifically. So that's why I kind of wanted to focus in on that. because it's really not an area of research that I've seen anyone else do yet.
So there's not been anything done and presented to anyone in the state government level regarding this that you could find?
that I could find, right? I couldn't find any direct studies in our state that make the connection between college education and income inequality.
Huh, I'm like you must have found that surprising because if there was
Yeah,
United States studies, why wouldn't there be Wisconsin studies?
Yeah, I guess in the research process, we had to find a bunch of sort of past studies because you want to make sure you're kind of using the right variables, kind of doing the right thing in your project.
Yeah.
So kind of look at others for reference. And yeah, I just couldn't find anything really. It's been studied like comparing the United States to other countries in the world. But obviously there's so many things that affect that, like literacy and access to, electricity and so many factors. But
yeah, that's just too broad, though. I mean, the United
right.
States is a big place.
Mhm.
That's why where it's broke down like it is. And it seems odd that there's not more generalized studies.
Yeah. So, I mean, that really kind of made me want to find out in Wisconsin too, like what the relationship is, because no one has really focused on that yet.
So what did you find that surprised you when doing this project?
So I guess the main findings of the research were that income gains are disproportionately going to college graduates in Wisconsin. And there's sort of kind of a wage premium for skilled labor. And there are a couple of reasons that might be contributing to that. I think first, you go to college, it's a big investment. And I think, the higher income that you get as a result of that is kind of your return on investment, your education. But additionally, in recent years, there's been a clear shortage of skilled labor in Wisconsin. And actually, this is across the United States too. I think changes in technology have really changed a lot of industries, and it's transitioning from maybe more high labor jobs to high skilled people, high skilled labor required to run the machinery and equipment and software. So that's really driven up the need for educated workers, but we're not really meeting that yet. So wages for that group have really gone up in recent years.
Are skilled labor positions, especially in Wisconsin, can these be things that people can do with just tech college? Or do you have to go to a four-year university to do most of this stuff, and that's why the demand is so much higher?
Um, I would say there's a mix of both. And actually, in recent years, technical colleges have really become more popular too, just because colleges alone, we definitely need to make sure it's accessible to people because, the costs of college has become a real barrier in recent years. But technical colleges are really going to play an important role going forward too. Certificate programs too. People can basically complete a degree in 1 or 2 years without having to take all the gen eds and 4-year degree and be making just as much and get really high quality training for those jobs. So yeah, I would say it includes both.
So your study is basically the skilled laborers, tech school, 4-year degree labor, whatever, masters.
Mhm.
That percentage has gone up from a percentage standpoint greatly. But then what you would deem, I guess, lack of a better term, non-skilled,
Mhm.
that wage increase hasn't done much.
Right. And in some cases it's almost gone down like at the same time uh, because people in those positions are being kind of forced out and having trouble getting back into the workforce in a job that doesn't require so much, training and education.
Is this what's also happening in all the United States, or is Wisconsin a lot different in other ways compared to the rest of the country?
I think based on what I read in a lot of the articles, it's kind of a trend that's happening in the United States too. There's the need for, educated workers, skilled workers is really only going up as technology keeps advancing, and we're not really meeting that demand yet for that labor. So it's definitely happening across the US, I think.
I would agree with that. So what do you think what's the solution? Make education a lot more affordable, a lot easier to attain? I was just thinking back to some conversations I had with people in certain industries, how, not only they're willing to recruit and bring people in and train them themselves and pay them pretty well while they're doing it. And they're still having a there's still a huge issue for them finding workers, even though they're offering them quite a good start, to be honest. When you were doing this, did any solutions pop out to you?
I mean, that's not an area I guess I researched quite as much, but a lot of the sources I was looking at just talked about, trying to make college more accessible, and also not just four-year universities, but looking at the alternatives like technical colleges, like I was talking about. Because I mean, the reality is four-year degrees just don't work for everyone.
Yeah.
So we really need to make sure that we're presenting all those options to people. And I was reading from the Wisconsin Department of Workforce Development too. They really emphasize the need for Wisconsin to attract, workers, trained workers, and also retain, make sure they're not going to other states or, moving into other industries, because we really need to adapt. Basically, we have a decision to make in Wisconsin. Do we want to be like ahead of the curve? Do we want to invest in these different programs that make sure we get our labor force trained, or do we want to be behind it? I guess, yeah, those were, I think, the main things, the solutions really.
So you're saying we need to attract, it's more like a competition with other states.
Yeah.
It should be, we need to attract.
Let's talk about Waupaca with this topic.
Mhm.
How did Waupaca County compare to the other counties in Wisconsin? How did it do with this issue?
I guess in terms of inequality, it was kind of at the lower end. Just to give you sort of a list of the highest or most unequal counties, those were like Milwaukee, Ozaukee, Menominee County, and then Sawyer County. But yeah, Wisconsin was kind of in the middle. Portage County was kind of in the middle. Um, a lot of the central Wisconsin region really was kind of at the lower end. Inequality was actually worse in the north and southern parts, which is kind of interesting.
So, Waupaca County is not doing as bad as the other counties. Is there still something that Waupaca County specifically should do, or people representing the central Wisconsin area in the state government level should do to improve things?
I don't know exactly, what to do, but I would say, I think just being having the Waupaca Foundry, I think, is definitely sort of an equalizer. It provides a lot of high paying jobs that, do require labor. And I think like manufacturing counties probably have less inequality, if I had to guess, just because it's providing, good work for people. But yeah, I don't have a specific answer to that necessarily.
Can't really speak for the whole county, but Waupaca itself.
Mhm.
After talking with some of the administrators at the school and so forth, they're astounded at the amount of scholarships and things like that are available compared to some of the bigger systems they came from.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, you look at what's going on around here with all the money they put into literally the infrastructure of the town itself, and they're getting ready to do other projects as well on
Mhm.
the other side of town. And I don't know. I think they're doing it right, and I think at least here we should prosper.
Yeah, it just, I mean, just to comment on like the scholarships too. I think compared to a lot of other, you know, people I've talked to at UWSP, just hearing from their high schools how many opportunities they had. I think it's amazing how many scholarships we have at Waupaca to make college more accessible to the people at our schools. So we're really fortunate to have such a strong program like that.
Oh,
It makes a difference.
how was your trip to the Capitol?
Honestly, if I had to look at all the experiences I've had at college, this was definitely the most like impactful, most meaningful experience I've ever had. It was just amazing to get to talk to so many professors, legislators. Like for instance, I talked to Representative Kevin Peterson, Representative Katrina Shankland, Senator Teston, as well as Senator Ballweg about my project, including like a half-hour legislative office visit with the staff of Representative Shankland. So we got to like go up to her office. Trying to get there was really a challenge. It's like a maze at the Capitol, going down all the hallways and stuff. I think we were about 5 minutes late because we couldn't find a room. But yeah, it was just I even got to speak to the UW system president, Jay Rothman. He came over specifically to my poster because it was kind of talking about, you know, the college education and how it's a relevant topic to him, obviously. And I even got to talk to 3 different employees at the Department of Workforce Development, whose data I actually used in my project. They actually came over specifically to talk to me and, you know, talk about what they're doing, what their jobs are like. And it was just, yeah, definitely the most amazing experience I've had in college so far.
What were the other professors and lawmakers wanting to know about regarding your presentation? What questions did they have for you?
I guess most of the questions were directed at, you know, why is this important, or what should we do in Wisconsin to deal with this issue? You know, I tried not to get into too many details about the background of the project or what I did because it's not that important. But just like, you know, for instance, one of the surprising results was that counties with fewer white people have more inequality. Looking at how does race have a factor in inequality in our Wisconsin counties? You know, all these different things. I think they were just kind of curious to know just about me personally, as well as, you know, what are the different factors that are impacting inequality.
Well, it's cool to hear that you had such a great experience at the Capitol. And how many other presentations were alongside you at the Capitol?
Yes, so there were, I believe, a total of 90 student projects at the Capitol. There were
Wow.
about 6 projects from each UW school. So there were, I think, 5 other students from UWSP. Like for instance, one of them did a history project, another one did a project looking at CWD prions, another one did a fisheries project, one about music curriculum. So you could just walk around and just the array of topics was just basically across the board, everything you could think of, like sociology, math, psychology projects, just everything. So it was really cool to see all the research being done in Wisconsin.
Mhm. How did you get chosen for this? I mean, was there quite a few people that had done some research and presentations, or?
I'm not exactly sure. I mean, I know UW Stevens Point is not what I would say a research university. It's more geared toward learning and, you know, education. So I think there were a couple other projects, but basically we just had to submit it. And each college, like I represented the College of Professional Studies. They just chose my project after kind of looking over the summary of it. So yeah, I was really fortunate they chose mine.
So do you feel like a winner now?
I mean, maybe it was, well, I will say, I mean, just the amount of attention that I got for this project was, I mean, it was great, but it was also like, wow, I wasn't expecting that much. Yeah, I mean, someone from the marketing department at the university actually wrote a whole article about me, and about the research that I did. And just social media was blowing up. Like by the time I got home, or by the time I got back to Stevens Point from Madison, I think I had about 50 notifications on LinkedIn and all these things. It was just crazy. But yeah, it was kind of nice to have the attention, but I also am glad it's back to normal.
You strike me as being not arrogant about it, but just flattered.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't seem like your head's filling up with air or anything. You seem pretty. You still seem like Kyle to me. Well, at the very beginning, you said you were studying to be an actuary. Maybe you could
Sure.
tell people what that is so they don't think you're going to be working in a giant bird cage or anything.
Okay. At Stevens Point, I'm studying to be an actuary. And actually, I took my first exam over this past summer. There's a whole series of exams to be sort of fully qualified. But basically, actuarial science kind of combines a bunch of unique topics like statistics, finance, accounting, economics. Those are kind of the main areas. Kind of combines all those into one to sort of, deal with uncertainty, manage risk for insurance companies, like deciding what rates to have, what to charge on premiums or policies. And actually, the research project that I did really gave me a lot of good experience, collecting data and analyzing data. That's going to be helpful for me when I hopefully get into the field someday. So, and actually this upcoming summer, I'm going to be an intern at Century in Stevens Point, which I'm really looking forward to.
Congratulations.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, I mean, just growing up in Waupaca, I think it's hard to ignore the impact that Century has in Stevens Point. I mean, just recently they donated $10 million to UWSP to basically revamp the School of Business. I think about 5 years ago, they donated another $4 million to start a data analytics program. And they really do a lot for the community and surrounding area. So I'm really excited to work for them this summer.
Oh, good. That's what I noticed when we were over there at the campus. I got the real feeling that this campus and the city were kind of acting as one. That wasn't necessarily separate. There seemed to be a lot of pride there.
Right. Yeah, there's so many like community partners, like Delta Dental is huge, Skyward also. Gamber Johnson is sort of a growing company in Stevens Point. So, I mean, there's a lot of good happening in that community.
Well, yeah, it's giving Waupaca area more jobs too. Like, let's face it, a lot of people commute to Stevens Point or Appleton from Waupaca. And, the more jobs that Century is providing and all these other companies in Point, the better, because it brings more people into central Wisconsin and makes the whole area stronger. That's the hope.
Well, it's such an easy commute. Seriously, you used to get on the highway either way, and you either get to Point or Appleton in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Right.
So you're going to be doing your internship now. That's just summer then?
Yeah, it is just going to be this summer. I think it starts roughly after Memorial Day and goes through the middle of August. And if I remember right, they do a lot of fun activities with their interns too. For instance, they actually did a boat cruise on the chain of lakes, I think at the Chief Waupaca last year. They took their interns out to do like axe throwing or something. And later this summer, they're actually going to have a major golf tournament happening at the Century Golf Course. So I'm sure, the interns are going to get to sort of watch some of that happen too. But yeah,
They'll put you to work. That's what they'll do.
Yeah.
What I used to do with my interns a lifetime ago.
Yeah, I think really they just want to make you feel like part of the community and like your home in Stevens Point or central Wisconsin, because ultimately they really want people to stay with the company too. And they do a great job with that.
Well, I would hope. Your interns in, make them feel really bad about themselves.
Right.
Yeah, and the golf tournament you're talking about, that's the 2023 US Senior Open, is going to be in Stevens Point at Century World Golf Course. That's probably one of the most major sporting events to happen in central Wisconsin ever. So it's a pretty big deal that's going on.
Yeah, and I know, like the mayor of Stevens Point and a lot of people have really been working over the past couple of years to make sure that the city of Stevens Point is prepared for that, and just all the people it's going to bring into town, try to make the community look as good as it can for all those tourists and stuff. So yeah, it'll be exciting.
Well, and it'll help Waupaca too. That's something we can't forget about, because I know Wausau will get a lot of traffic, but also Waupaca, because we are similar distance from Stevens Point like Wausau is. So, I think we might be seeing some more tourists during that golf tournament. The hotels being full, hopefully. So a lot of great things coming to not just Point, but to the surrounding areas as well.
Yeah, and one thing like I would say too, after working at Lucky Tree Northern Home and the kitchen store this past summer, on Main Street, during the Iowa Car Show weekend too. Obviously the event is taking place in Iowa, but just the amount of people that come in that weekend, even to Waupaca, it definitely brings in a lot of people.
Oh, definitely.
So you're not working for me this summer then? You're gonna go and do an internship? Okay, that's
I hate to abandon you.
this is a terrible way for me to find out, but
Yeah, I guess, yeah, working 40 hours a week, might be too much to work on the weekends too.
yeah. Well, I imagine you probably get paid a lot more too.
Maybe.
And
It
since
is a paid internship, so that'll be nice.
yeah. It's so specific.
Right. Yeah, it was, honestly though, this past summer, working downtown that was probably one of my favorite summers ever, just to get to meet so many people, and
I'm sure
everyone who comes in.
try and save it. Good job.
Yeah.
No, I'm being honest. But like, I got to see a lot of former teachers come in even, and I really did not, I was kind of surprised how friendly everyone was who came in to the stores. I didn't deal with a single bad customer, and I'm being completely honest.
Waupaca is not an angry place, man.
No. And it was just really great to hear, everyone who comes in to the stores was just so impressed with what downtown Waupaca has done. A lot of people compare it to Door County, just the amount of shops and like the variation in the amount of stores downtown. It was really great working downtown.
Well, and downtown's just going to get stronger and stronger. The Rosa movie theater will be opening before the summer. I believe it's May, June, that they are going to have at least some days open and try to get back to normal.
Sure.
Yeah, according to the Waupaca County Post. So if it's wrong, don't blame us. But yeah, that's what the Post reported. So, and that is great, because that will bring another thing to Waupaca that is after dinner that is really needed, especially on Main Street, and that will provide also more traffic to the restaurants, I would assume. And more family things to do, the better.
Mm-hmm.
I think their first movie should be Cocaine Bear.
Oh, geez. I heard a few people who went to see that movie. I didn't watch it yet. They said it was a little more gruesome than they thought it would be, but just the premise of it and the fact that it was based on true story. It's just
Yeah, I read about that, and yeah, I mean, very, very loosely based. Basically,
right.
bear ingested cocaine, and his, in reality, his system shut down, and he didn't last very long. So there's some exaggerations, I'm sure, with the film, but I mean, come on, it's
No, not at
Cocaine
all.
Bear. What do you think you're walking into? I mean, it's like being all upset and that Dumb and Dumber you thought was stupid. Well, the name of it's Dumb. I mean,
The Cocaine
Yeah.
Bear is even at the Oscars.
what?
Yeah, did you see that? They had someone in this giant bear suit and his cocaine bear presenting an award. I don't know who it was, and everyone wants to know because the bear was just wild. Almost made Elizabeth Banks, who directed the film and presented the award with Cocaine Bear, it almost made her trip on stage because of the bear suit. The bear suit had to be at least 7 feet tall. It was a big bear suit. And then they had the bear crawling around in the audience too, which was really weird. So if people want to learn more about your project, more of the real specifics,
Yep.
what should they do to find this information?
So actually, there's a website by the UW system. It's called, well, if you just look up research in the Rotunda UW system or something on Google, they actually have a whole website. And I actually made a 5-minute video kind of summarizing the results of the project. And you can look at other people's research there too. I think they had a whole list of the program, all the student research they did there. But you can find it just by looking at the Research in the Rotunda webpage on the internet. So
You don't have it yourself, on a Facebook page or under some heading like Kyle's better than Anna.com.
let's see. I mean, I think if you, I don't think it's directly a link to that on like Facebook or something. But I think like the UWSP College of Letters and Science may have posted something to just, I guess, maybe the easiest way is to find it on the internet. Yeah, just a Google search.
And the other projects are there too?
Yeah, you can watch other videos that people did. A lot of interesting projects people did across the UW system.
Yeah, you said that would be under, what'd you say? Stevens Point Rotunda?
If you look like research in the Rotunda
Okay.
UW system, if you type that in, you should be able to find it first thing that comes up.
So, I mean, in case some of you folks out there don't realize it, Kyle has a twin sister. So have you let her know how much better you are than her now since you've got all this attention?
I mean, one of the really interesting things is as twins, actually, there are a fair number of twins who are actually pretty competitive with each other and like, but I guess we never really see it that way. And it's kind of funny because a lot of people, I mean, if you look back at high school, my sister and I both played trombone in high school, through middle school too. We both go to UW Stevens Point. We both worked, at your shops downtown last summer. And the summer before, we both worked for the school district of Waupaca. So like we do a lot of things together. And actually some people are surprised, like, someone told me recently, like, I just couldn't handle being with my brother all day or something, or I just don't know how you get along so well. But yeah, we just do a lot of things together and kind of see eye to eye on a lot of things. So it's helpful having someone that like especially when I started college during the pandemic, it was really nice to have someone there that I knew and we could like go eat dinner together every night or do things together. So makes it a lot easier.
Knowing you're both incredibly good natured. Like I said, you've got you both seem to have very, very thick skin and just kind of seem to go with it, I've never seen either one of you upset ever.
Yeah. It's kind of funny too, because my mom actually calls it twinning. But like sometimes we'll be in a room together. We could be opposite ends of the room, and maybe we'll be like listening to someone give a talk about something, and we'll just hear them say something, and like we'll just kind of look across the room at each other like, did you did you just hear that? Or like, sometimes my parents will be like, we'll just be laughing about something for no reason. No one knows what it is, but we're just kind of like on the same page.
Are there any other things you notice as twins that, like, I know some people talk about how there's like weird connections or whatnot with twins compared to just normal siblings, like that finishing each other's sentences. I don't know.
I mean, like if we, I guess just mostly like being able to almost like communicate without even having to say any words to each other. Like we can just tell what each of us are feeling basically, just because we spent a lot of time like around each other. So yeah, it maybe surprises people, but like if we're laughing for no reason, we're laughing about something, but you just don't know what it is.
Just weirdly laughing in the corner.
Well,
Yeah.
not like that, but sometimes inappropriately, but once we get laughing, we can't stop. It can be kind of embarrassing, but
Just looking out of the corner of your eye at nothing, laughing.
yeah.
So how much longer do you have before you're a full-blown actuary?
I mean, it's kind of a long road ahead. There are probably I've taken one exam that I have to pass to get, to be fully qualified. I think there are about 8 or 9, maybe 10 exams total that I have to take. So it'll probably take, 5 to 7 years, I think, on average for people to pass the rest of them. And each one you complete, you kind of get to see different areas of the business and get to do different projects. So it's a long road ahead, but I think I'm cut out for it.
Yeah, I think so too. You seem to know math fairly well.
Definitely, I mean, passing the first exam over the past summer, was the probability exam, I think definitely gave me a boost. Because we actually, as at UWSP, I'm the president of math club, and we recently had a speaker come in to talk about his experience in insurance. And I think one of the things everyone talks about is there are a lot of moments you really feel like giving up, like you just feel really stupid, you can't figure this out, it's too much. But you just have to take it one day at a time and do what you can. You'll get there eventually. It might take a while though.
What is it about math that you enjoy about it so much? Math is usually known as a thing that people really do not enjoy. So what do you see in it that others fail to see?
I guess just, dealing with challenges, solving problems that are really important and relevant to, believe it or not, our everyday lives. There's so many things that depend on like, problem solving. And actually when I was in high school, I took like an AP stats class, and that was probably the first time I really thought this is something I could do. And like throughout high school too, we actually competed in a math league. Every other month or something, we'd go to UW Stevens Point to take this big like hour-long exam, sort of compete against other schools. I think it's just, the challenge of trying to solve problems, and there's no one right answer. There's so many ways to tackle every situation. So I think it's actually pretty creative. You have to be creative to, study the topics. So that's really what draws me to it.
I always thought math was a key to the universe, personally. So
I
kind of
mean,
stealing a line from Christopher Watkin there in a movie called The Prophecy. I think it's been so long since I've watched it. I'm not even sure that's the right name.
yeah, I mean, there are so many things that just use it in our everyday lives, like phones, computers, technology that we don't even know about. We definitely wouldn't be as advanced without it in society. So,
Without math, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, just a little bit.
Wow. Can you imagine a world without math? I wouldn't
A lot of
even,
people might be happy with it, but
there's a lot of but I don't know. I mean, then you're just, yeah, I don't know. I believe everyone has a gift of some sort to offer. But if you eliminated math from everything, I can't imagine what that looks like. I mean, what would we be doing right now? I mean, it just strikes me as we'd all be just living, I don't know. I
yeah.
think the world would be pretty stupid, actually. Just be a bunch of stupid everywhere. It'd be awful.
I mean, I don't think we'd be on the Zoom call right now.
No, no, we would
Oh,
not.
the coding, yeah.
So, yeah.
No one can count. That would just be, nobody can make basic change for $1. I mean, it would just be awful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Kyle, for being on PodPaca today. Thank you for telling us about your research project and on the effect of education of income inequality in Wisconsin. Congratulations once again for being at the research in the Rotunda event in Madison at the State Capitol building. That's a big deal. If you see him around, congratulate Kyle. Way to make Waupaca proud and UWSP proud.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you again for being on. It was awesome to hear about all this and so informative.
Love listening to the podcast, by the way. Keep it up.
You're the one that does that. Cool.